What's up, guys? Jeremy Conn here. It is the Lowdown. It's brought to you by Pickdawgz.com. Sorry, I'm all like jittery here. It's all brought to you by Pickdawgz.com. You can check out all the premium plays over there, everything that's going on. As I've said numerous times, I will be hosting up until Monday. I think if I get up early enough on Monday, I'm going to do a Tuesday pod and just look forward to it. And then we'll see when I get back. As I have throat surgery on Monday, and I don't know when I'll be able to talk. It's for sleep apnea, so if you've heard me say it a million times, I'm sorry. If you're new, that's what to expect, and that's why I tell everybody click the notification button. It'll let you know every time one of these gets posted, and if you hit the subscribe and like button, it obviously helps us out, so we do appreciate that. I come back in the morning when this gets posted. I run my weather algorithm, and then I post what it says. I try to denote some things if the weather algorithm conflicts with what I was saying the previous day, and it's, of all the days I've done this, it's happened twice. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And one of those was the Yankees game on Thursday, where the algorithm loved the over. As I was looking at it, it looked like an underplay. I trusted the algorithm a little bit more on this because I don't think I'd be on the Yankees game at all if it wasn't, if it wasn't only 3 games that day. But I did like the Rays in the matchup. I thought the Rays could get after Marcus Stroman. And I talked about Junior Caminero over 1.5 bases. We'll see how everything plays out. None of that has, I don't know how anything's going as I'm recording this in a room, and I don't even have TVs in this room yet, which I do need to set up. That being said, I kind of had one of those days again. It was twice this week where I felt like the gambling gods, I don't know what I did to them, where they're just messing with my mind and messing with my money. But so yesterday I had the Minnesota Lynx -7, and I got them at 7 because, like I said, I post all my plays early. It moved to 7.5 in most places, and I think most people got it at 7.5. If you did, you'd be pissed at the free throw that was missed, and then Sabrina getting fouled, hitting both of her free throws to put it at 7, and then they just let the clock run out. So that sucked. Then I had had the Orioles early in that day, and if you guys go back, Yennier Cano came in and gave up 5 runs, and then on top of that, we had the situation where the Orioles had the bases loaded. They came back, they were down 1 run. Ramon Laureano gets called out on a strike 3 that should have been a ball 4 that was way off the plate, and just something we've been dealing with umps, and didn't have that one go my way. Of course, that one loses. Then we get to the later games, the Dodgers and Reds. I missed that. And I thought we'd get some more runs. We didn't see it. There were some opportunities in the game, believe it or not, but we didn't see it. I had the Yankees over against the Rays, and they get to 4-4. Just like the other night, I'm saying worst thing that can happen is a push, and the worst thing that happened, we got a push because one more run gets scored at that point. And the worst one of all of them, I don't know how many people were on Seattle or the Mariners and the Athletics over. I was, and I said I thought there'd be a lot of home runs hit. It just felt like that. You look at the matchup, the way that the weather was going, I thought there would be more home runs hit in that game, and there was. There were 7 home runs hit. Total was 9.5. They scored 9 total runs. That's right, 6 solo shots, 1 2-run homer, and somebody doubled in a run, and that's all we got. That is just awful. You call a home run game like that. I mean, look, these are the breaks. It's baseball, and I hate to sit here and harp on it. It's not like, every play I got wrong because I was unlucky. I get plays wrong all the time where it just wasn't a good play. But when you see your research come through and it's going the right way, that sucks to kind of watch how that finished. I woke up to it this morning. I wanted to stay up and watch the A's game, but I didn't get to. I had to watch it on YouTube, which I do with a lot of baseball games. And by the way, that's something for anyone out there. Once I started working mornings in Baltimore, I started rewatching stuff on YouTube or watching it for the first time because you can watch a football game in 11 minutes. You'd be surprised at how much walking around and nothing is going on during the game, the huddles, the clock's just constantly running. It is 11 minutes of action. That's it. That 3.5, 4 hours you sit on Sunday watching a game, 11 minutes of action. So the only person that gets less action than that is probably my wife, but that's just how things go sometimes. I wear my Olympic condoms. I wore gold, so I finished first. That being said, let me move on. I'm in this weird mood because I think I'm really anxious about my surgery, and I don't get this way. My stomach's been in knots all week, but I just want to get this damn thing over with. But we do have a good slate of games, and one of the things I want to point out is one of the games I'm talking about has a guy that potentially could be traded later today. We'll get to it. You'll see what I'm saying. There are two games that have 10-mile-an-hour winds. They're blowing in both games, but we'll get to it. Let's just start this off and kind of roll through it. We start off with the Tigers and the Phillies. The wind is blowing in at about 8 miles an hour. It's 73 degrees roughly, in that range, mid-70s. Light rain in the forecast, and that's going to be kind of a theme because a lot of these games have light rain. I've talked about this. When it's hot and it's light rain, the humidity picks up. Love that. When it's a little bit cooler, it's not as great of an effect. We'll see how the rain affects the pitchers, the grip, all those things. But in this game, it's Jack Flaherty versus Ranger Suarez, and if you haven't been watching, I mean, Ranger Suarez has been amazing this year. The strikeout to walk ratio is incredible. His ERA and WHIP are incredible. Jack Flaherty he's Jack Flaherty. He's fine. And I do think this is a guy that can strike out some Phillies, and I might take a look at his K prop. We'll see. But as I brought this up the other day and I learned on the morning show, Jack Flaherty is one of the least profitable pitchers to bet on this year. I think some of that has to do with being on the Tigers and being favored in most games. But yeah, if you look at his win-loss record, you'll see he hasn't been great. He hasn't been awful, but he hasn't been great. But I do think this game, I'm going to bet on the pitchers here. I like the under. I think it's a good play, so that's what I'm going to lean to. I'll know more about the weather in these situations in the morning when I post the algorithm results. And one other thing I want to point out with the weather algorithm results, it does not mean it's like a blank, it says Yankees over, Phillies over, Blue Jays over, Reds under. Does not mean go out and bet all those, but use it to your advantage. If you're handicapping or if you're looking at games, it is an edge. So if it is something you want to use, I'd rather use that than nothing. But I try to list when there are great spots. And if I put great spot by a game, there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to be on that game, just to give you a heads up. All right, let's get to the next game. This is the one that we had the pitching issue. It's the Twins at the Guardians. Wind is in at about 8 to 10 miles an hour. Again, another mid-70s game. This is Gavin Williams versus Joe Ryan. I'm recording this now. A couple of trades just went down. None for like major starting pitchers. I know Shane Bieber went to the Blue Jays earlier today when I was getting off the air. But I look at this situation because I do think Joe Ryan gets moved. I think there's a good chance Mackenzie Gore gets moved. I definitely think Sandy Alcantara gets moved. There's some other guys in there that are interesting, and I do think the Orioles will move some starting pitchers as well. But they just put Zach Eflin on the IL for back stiffness. He still may get moved. But Joe Ryan is a prize piece, and I'm sure somebody's going to have to come up with a ton of prospects to get him or some sort of fair deal. If he gets traded, it makes me like this side even more. Even if Joe Ryan pitches, I'm taking the Guardians here. I like Gavin Williams against this Minnesota Twins team. And by the way, the Twins might change up some of their hitters, if I can speak. Like there were a couple of guys. I know we saw Castro was hugging some teammates, and there was nothing there. Carlos Correa to the Astros was a rumor. Could that happen? So there's a lot that could happen here. But I do think the Guardians are a good play, whether it's Joe Ryan or not. They're going to be adding. They've been dealing with some stuff on the gambling side of it. I'm sure you guys have read all that. But I would lean towards the Guardians here. I do think the under is interesting, but I don't want to lean towards the under if I don't know if Joe Ryan's pitching, because the options behind him, they're what some people might call not very good. So I don't want to take that route, but I'm going to lean towards the Guardians here. Let's get to the next game. This is one of those games where you're just hoping the bats are on it because it's Dodgers-Rays, 95 degrees, wind is out from 5 to 7 miles an hour, not much help, and it's Clayton Kershaw versus Shane Baz. And this is not, I was going to say your father's Clayton Kershaw, because I guess it would be my Clayton Kershaw technically. This is not the Clayton Kershaw from a few years ago. I'm not telling you he's a bad pitcher. He's just reinventing the way that he's doing things. He's hitting a lot more bats. The strikeouts are way down. If you don't believe me, check out the strikeout props on a continuous basis. He's like right around 3.5 in almost every single game. That's a low number for a guy like Kershaw. But, I mean, how do you stay away from the over here? My lean's going to be towards the over. Baz hits a lot of bats. The Dodgers hit a lot of balls. So that could be a recipe for disaster there for him. And with the wind blowing out, the warm conditions, I think the ball's going to carry today in Tampa or at the Yankees minor league stadium. The same thing with Clayton Kershaw. I'm not worried about a lefty against this Rays team with Yandy Diaz, Junior Caminero, even Chandler Simpson, who's just going to steal bases every chance he gets. I think the over is a good play here, so that's where I'm going to lean. Now, before I get to my free play, because my free play plays into this, there are two games with 10-mile-an-hour winds. They are both blowing in. That would be my Orioles versus the Cubs in Wrigley. And usually in Wrigley games, winds blowing in, it's a huge bump to pitchers. We'll have to look and see. Here, let me see if I can. I didn't even look at to see who the starting pitchers were going to be. I didn't figure I was going to talk about this, but I do think it's interesting. It's Trevor Rogers and Cade Horton. They both have been fantastic. Here, I'll throw another one in there. I'm almost positive I'm going to be on the under on Friday's card in the Orioles-Cubs game. Rogers has been fantastic. I think Cade Horton's been very good. The wind blowing in. I bet you that total's around 7. I wouldn't be surprised if it got to 6.5. It's a really, really good spot. And then the Mets and Giants have the wind blowing in, and that's the last game we're going to talk about. San Francisco Giants at the New York Mets. We actually had this matchup out in San Francisco of Robbie Ray versus David Peterson. And I like both of these pitchers. Robbie Ray can definitely go out there and get some Ks. It's a big ballpark at Citi Field. The wind, 9 to 11 miles an hour in, so we're probably going to be around that 10-mile-an-hour range. Light rain, 70 degrees. Sign me up. I'm going back to the under again. Free play on the under in the Giants and Mets game. And you can call it a double free play if you want, because I do think the Orioles and Cubs game is going under. And if everybody's watching this, again, I'm 99.9% sure I'm going to be on that Cubs under. So there's 2 free plays. Hope you guys are doing well. Make sure you check out all the things going over at Pickdawgz.com. Lots of great stuff. I'm trying to gear up for football season, and which is why, being out now, and I'll probably be studying a lot of stuff and maybe even writing some notes down. When it comes to football, I use a ton of things. I do use algorithms. I am big on fading the public. I like to look at consensus reports and see where the money's going, to see which way the line's moving. Those things are really important to me. And honestly, consensus reports are the most important thing to me. And some people may disagree with me on that, but I don't want to be on the side of the public as much as I can. And it doesn't mean if I handicap a game and I see that this is a really good spot and I see the public's on it, doesn't mean I'm going to get away from that game. But at the same extent, I prefer to be on the side of the house when I'm betting. House wins, man. The way I told the story before is they're building skyscrapers with roller coasters on top of them in Vegas. There's a reason why. So I do think that's one of the things I like to look at during football season. I think Thursday night home football games are the greatest advantage in sports outside of week 1, because both teams have been gearing up for that game. But when you have to go on the road on a short week, you can take a bad team and make them look really good against a team that's had basically one day to prepare for another team. So I think that's a great advantage. I do look at back-to-back road games. I look at West coming East, East going West. I think those things matter. It's not the end-all, be-all, but I've talked to plenty of players that say, yeah, traveling just kills you. And that's one of the reasons why we should not be playing games in London, in Brazil, wherever. It's not fair to these guys. And I don't care if you do it the first game of the year. And I know people saying, boo-hoo, millionaires, it's not fair to them. It affects the product. We get some sorry-ass games. This league's already getting watered down. They're changing all kinds of rules to enforce the offense. I mean, I watched the game between the Ravens and Rams, was that a couple years ago on Monday Night Football, where they scored over 100 points. And a lot of people were saying, oh, this is one of the best games. I hated it. I don't want to watch that. I like that in college because those games turn out to be fun. But in the NFL, it's like, man, your defense is getting paid a lot of money. What's going on? How come nobody can stop anyone? So we shall see. But, I'll throw a bunch of stuff out with football. I do I do some PFF stuff too with cornerback wide receiver matchups, running backs against certain defenses. Do we find a run funnel defense? Do we find a pass funnel defense? That's stuff I use for daily fantasy. So I know I'm rambling and throwing a lot at you, but I'm just excited that football season's around the corner. And I get so excited for football, and then all of a sudden, and the Hall of Fame game, which I'm sure if most of you are like me, you turned it on for 10 minutes and then turned it off because it is just a trash game. I'm sorry. You're not going to see many of the stars. So, but yeah, and then we get into football, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, here comes college basketball and NBA, and that makes me happy. I do bet on the NHL, but of my sports, I love basketball, football, and baseball. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I'll be back with another podcast, so make sure you're checking in the morning, and you guys can see in the comments where the weather algorithm leans. I like to post that for you, so you can do with that what you will. Appreciate you guys. Back tomorrow.